Assalamu alaikum and good evening. You are listening to Friday Night Prime with me, Akil Khalil, and my co-host, Faisal.
Assalamu alaikum.
How you doing, brother?
You hesitated a bit.
I did, you know why? Because I'm wide Let's Talk, aren't I?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm covering tonight for our brother, Ahmed. I hope he's well. We're live on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM and also Inspire FM in Luton. Online at salamradio.co.uk. You can also find us on social media at Salaam Radio. I believe we're broadcasting live on YouTube as well as Facebook. You can find us on our apps as well, iOS and Android. We're always on air 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Please get involved with your opinions on tonight's show. You can call us on 01733 602 133 or text WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about faith schools, pros and cons, as well as non-faith schools. And later on in the show, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and whether or not we think they're taking over the world. So it's good to be back on Friday Night Prime, brother.
I think it's the first time I'm doing the show with you.
Yeah, you must be worried.
I'm not worried. You better be worried.
I'm worried about your answers. Alhamdulillah. How's your week been, brother?
Alhamdulillah, it's been very good.
Excellent.
Very good, yeah.
I mean, I've jumped in late, lastminute.com here for Brother Amr. I hope he's well.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, inshallah. I think he was working, couldn't make it down,
Okay.
but I'm glad that you're able to make it.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss the terms afterwards. Okay, so yeah, we were going to be talking tonight about faith schools and the benefits of faith school, etc. So before we start, I wanted to ask you, have you had any involvement in schools at all yourself, or anything like that in terms of? I know we have a faith school in Peterborough, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few faith schools. There's a Muslim school, then there's a few Christian faith schools as well. But I mean, initially we were going to have what's his name, Father Toby from Peterborough School, because I know what some of the work that he's doing at that school in terms of community cohesion, and it's kind of similar sort of things what we're doing in the community, and he's doing it in the Christian community with his church and everything that he's involved in. And from with his involvement, what we were going to actually discuss was in terms of pastoral care.
Okay.
You know how important that is, and how that. How it benefits students in the school where he teaches. Okay. But yeah, so I mean, in terms of our discussion, faith schools, non-faith schools, they're all the same, aren't they?
I think, actually, I'm glad you said that. I mean, I think it's important to stress the differences. So there are various types of state-funded schools, including funded faith schools, including voluntary aided schools or voluntary controlled schools, or faith academies. So faith schools may give priority to applicants who are of the faith, so whether that's Muslim, or if you're Jewish, or if you're Hindu, or if you're Christian. And specific exemptions from Section 85 of the Equality Act 2010 enable them to do that. I think it's really important to stress that at this stage. However, state-funded faith schools must admit the applicants if they cannot fill all of their places, and must ensure that their admission arrangements comply with the school's admissions code. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit further on in the show, but it's important to just set the stall here. There is a difference between a faith school and a non-faith school.
Yeah, a secular school, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so, I mean, should we get into the non-faith schools first?
Okay.
And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, growing up from the 80s,
yeah.
I might have knocked off a generation there.
Which school did you go to?
I went to a school in Peterborough, that's right.
A school in Peterborough.
A school in Peterborough.
Okay.
But that was a secular school. And I think when I was growing up, you seldom heard of faith schools. I know they were around. There were. But
when you were at school, didn't you sing the hymns and?
Yes.
Didn't you have the weekly assemblies?
But that was primary school.
Okay.
That was primary school. It wasn't secondary school. Secondary school is 100% secular.
Okay, so maybe by then things had changed a lot. Because I remember in primary school, I mean, what happens in Church of England school, that's what pretty much happened in the primary school whilst I was there.
Right.
But I know as my sisters went through the school, they did less of that. So I think over time things have changed. But what we call secular schools now, I think they were pretty much in terms of those singing the hymns and assemblies and that type of thing, that was more, you could say, Christian oriented than what it is.
And
today.
hence why you will see so many, certainly primary schools, which are Church of England, and you will find that a lot of our children across the country will be still singing hymns and having assemblies and do all these things as you just mentioned. But yeah, I mean, I can't recall in certainly when I was young seeing any faith schools. As I've become, certainly in the last 10 years, you hear about them more. And certainly, as you mentioned, in Peterborough, we have one here, a Muslim one, that is, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Church of England schools. You've got Iqra Academy, which is a Muslim school. Then you've got King's School.
Yep.
Peterborough School, that's a Church of England school. Then you've got Catholic schools as well.
Yeah, that's right.
St. John Fisher, I think, it's a Catholic school.
I'll pick you up there with some numbers there. I mean, we were talking about Peterborough just there, but I think if we look at the actual bigger picture, faith schools make up a significant chunk of state primary school sector in England. As of 2014, there were 6,210 state-funded faith primary schools, making up 37% of the total number of schools. Now, this included, to just go along with your figures just there, 4,395 Church of England schools, 1,661 Roman Catholic schools, 36 Jewish schools, 9 Muslim schools, and 5 Sikh schools.
Yeah, here you're talking about ones which are state funded as well.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Absolutely,
not private.
Correct. No. Yeah, that's right. And then if we, look across the rest of the United Kingdom, in Wales there were 239 primary schools out of 1,544 which were faith schools, and in Scotland there were 370 out of 2,569 primaries which had a religious affiliation. Interesting numbers there.
It is. I mean, I was expecting more. I don't know. Were you expecting less or more?
No, I was quite surprised. I actually thought that was a higher number than I expected.
Is it?
Yeah. When we started talking about this subject, when I was doing my research, I was genuinely surprised to see there were so many faith schools. Yeah. But the fact that they were primary schools did make me think about when I was younger, the Church of England schools. But I wasn't expecting to see so many other faiths. Yeah. To be honest with you, I did expect. I mean, obviously you can tell by the numbers there. The vast majority are.
I mean, how many were Muslim faith schools? 9, you said.
9, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty low, though, isn't it?
That in the grand scheme of things, of course. Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, that is. And it's no. I mean, you have to understand. Although people say we live in a secular society, I mean, certainly Church of England schools are everywhere. I mean, Peterborough, there's so many here.
That's right. Yeah. But in terms of I mean, I went to you could say, secular school.
Okay.
In RE, we got taught all the religions, pretty much. I probably learned more about Islam than I did in the mosque, to be quite honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. In terms of, I mean, we learnt Quran and things like that when we were young, but we didn't do any Islamic studies in the. I don't know about you, but we didn't. In the mosque where
No, it was basic religious education.
Yeah, I mean, it was basic things to do with prayer, how to pray, but not in terms of history or anything like that. So in RE, we learned that, and that kind of, it made me realise how little I know when I did RE in school, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a, it's quite surprising actually you say that. I mean, I recall my RE days, thinking back of it now, I mean, there was they mentioned every single religion. You weren't really taught much about each one of them. It was almost like a buffet of religions, for want of a better word. And you learn a little bit here, learn a little bit there. And I think you'll get that in secular schools only, obviously. And you'll see that there's organisations out there. I mean, for example, you have humanists who will give you data about how faith schools run, what the admission process is, how and why it works, etc., etc., etc. And on a personal level, for me, seeing some of the articles in the last 5 years or so, I've been really surprised, genuinely surprised, and I know I shouldn't really be, but I have been, about the success of faith schools versus non-faith schools.
When you say success, you're talking about
academic. Yeah, that's it.
Could you say that's related to it being a faith school, or is it to do with the parents, or the schools are maybe selective?
Actually, it's funny you should say that. I mean, there was a study done recently, and the Church of England was defended that position. They were saying that their schools are designed not just to teach academia. They were there to teach and nurture a human. So there's a larger concept here involved. Yeah. So it's more than just thinking about your SATs. It's more than just thinking about your exams and things
building personality.
It's building your personality. It's giving you moral. It's assisting you to understand the world, so you have certain morals that will help you. And so I suppose in so many ways they're building a community. And then when you're involved in that community together, so you've got your your fellow students. So you build relationship with them, which are trusting relationships based on the same narrative to a degree. And then it's like your fellow man, isn't it? So I think you don't get that in secular schools.
No, I mean, I have seen a difference. I mean, one of my kids, he goes to the Peterborough school, and I've seen a difference between that and a secular school, in that the kind of things that he does now, for example, opening the door, simple little things, you think, oh, what difference does that make? Or when they go to lunch together, the teacher's there with them, the kids pour water for each other. Those little simple things, I think that's where faith schools, in terms of teaching etiquettes, being nice to your, colleagues, and doing all those type of things. I'm not saying that secular schools don't teach that. That's all down to the actual teachers, but I think it's more emphasized in faith schools.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. However, there's been, I think it should be pointed out, there's been quite a lot of studies which have actually countered that narrative, and they've said that faith has absolutely nothing to do with the grades and the way children are learning. I beg to differ. I think there's a lot more information available to you, certainly stats which will prove otherwise. We will go through that. Certainly.
Because I think the other thing you've probably got to look at, I've not seen these stats, but could these be single-sex schools as well?
No,
no
mix. We are going to get onto that. There has been a little bit of furore about a certain school which has been named quite recently in the press for segregating their children. Because don't forget, Ofcom. Sorry, my apologies, not Ofsted. Will still be reviewing these schools. And one of the things they'll be looking for is whether or not the children are mixed, if there is segregation. And from my own personal research that I've done, that hasn't been the case. That certainly hasn't been the case.
But isn't that's the difference between then you got private faith schools?
Yeah.
I think they're given a little bit more freedom. Don't quote me on this, but you have private faith schools who are completely segregated. So you have girls maybe in one building, boys in a different building. But I think the free schools and voluntary aided funding, they're a bit more restricted. They have to comply with ensuring that there's mixing between students, especially if they're taking on both genders.
Yeah, I can understand that, obviously, because the vested interest of the state isn't no longer there. With that said, there are, like you said, the business models are different, so it depends on who you're actually answering to that point, I suppose.
Yeah.
But for me, on a personal level, I think it's a refreshing situation. In so many ways, I suppose you could say that the two sides are pitted against each other. The ideologies of whether the faith is actually playing a part or not. But you can't shy away from the stats. Children in similar situations from poor backgrounds, going to secular schools and then going to a faith school, their achievements in academia is so, the gap between them is so wide. Like for example, they said that the Muslim children are the most highest achievers in terms of when they start at year 7 and when they get to year 11 in a faith school in the core subjects than they are in a secular school. Surely that's a problem. Why should it not be? There should be parity here.
It could be down to class numbers as well, couldn't it? So if you're talking about Muslim or Christian faith schools, generally Not all, but generally most of them are probably private schools.
Okay.
Yeah? And most of them would probably have smaller class sizes in comparison with state-funded schools.
I mean, I know, yeah, I get that to a degree. I mean, obviously, I know there's issues with resources across different sectors in the UK. Certainly, the government has pledged a lot more money to education, and class sizes has been an issue for the last 20 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
And faith schools, by its nature, one would assume that they're actually smaller organisations, but they're not.
No, not necessarily. I'm not talking. I don't mean organisation-wise. I mean in terms of. They'll probably just have a certain number of students. I mean, some schools may not, let's say if their limits are 20 students per class, they may not necessarily get 20 students.
Yeah.
They may only get 12. Whereas in purely state-funded schools, they'll have to fill the quota. I mean, there's probably more
Yeah, but in the
demand.
state-funded faith schools as well, when they have those spots available, they have to fill them.
They have to fill them, that's true. Yeah.
So, to that end, surely the numbers there should be some parity there to a degree.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, unless you break down the numbers and if you're comparing apples with pears, you don't really know. We don't know whether these schools are exactly in comparison. You might have maybe better resources available in terms of teacher training. Maybe you're attracting better teachers in these schools.
I think potentially. Potentially, I agree with you on that. Yeah, that's the case. The other element here as well, which is something which is seldom spoken about, is that the secondary schools run by faith groups are actually better than non-religious schools at building community relations.
I could kind of agree with that, yeah.
Okay, so I have some interesting stats for you here. So Ofsted, this was a research carried out, my apologies, by Professor David Jensen of York University here, and he involved reports from Ofsted of 400 secondary schools and 700 primary schools. Okay, and the schools were rated by inspectors on their legal duty to promote community cohesion, which was introduced in September 2007. Now, for me, before I got to this article, I had already researched about just the achievements of students who had head-to-head secular versus faith schools in terms of just the core subjects, so maths, English, science, etc. So I was leaning towards that when I was doing my research. So I sort of found myself on this article, and the stats were really, really, really impressive actually. So Professor Jensen says at a primary level, faith schools were rated the same as non-religious schools. Okay, but among the secondary schools surveyed, faith schools were rated higher. So 74 secondary schools surveyed, so 24, so 32% of them were rated outstanding at community relations. And of the 337 non-faith secondaries analysed, 55, which is 16%, were given the same grade. It's an interesting stat, and I think this really stems from a child going to a faith school in their primary ages and getting them core values, which they then move on to a secondary school. Whereas in a secular school, they're not getting the same values, although they're getting taught a curriculum. But one would assume that they're getting their morals and things like that from their faith school, and because they're learning them and applying them to their daily lives because they are from a certain faith, they carry them forward. And I think that's really, really interesting.
I think probably the difference is that things like morals and ethics and things, I think they probably still are taught in PSHE or whatever it's called. But probably in religious schools, faith schools, it's probably emphasized in every lesson. Okay. Yeah, so in every lesson, it's probably a little bit of that's emphasized, but also in terms of lunch breaks, you have your regular assemblies, those type of things make a huge difference. In terms of criticism of faith schools, one of the things I was looking on, it's a website, humanistlife.org.uk. There was quite a lot of criticism of faith schools, and one of the ones that I picked up on was faith schools do not provide much in the way of sex education. Okay. And can choose only to teach abstinence until marriage. What do you think about that?
I came across a similar article myself when I was doing research on it, and I can understand where the author was going on this. And I suppose if you are of a certain faith, there's going to be, I mean, looking at this from a person who came from a secular school, you're thinking it's really, really important that our children do learn about these things, which will equip them to, will certainly help them in the future.
Yeah.
And I think this, again, goes back to the faith element, where they are protecting, to a certain degree, the children. I think certainly in the primary schools, I get it to a degree, but I think in the secondary schools, this should be an open subject.
Yeah, I mean, my view on this is that it needs to be an open subject from at least probably year 6 onwards.
Okay.
I mean, because if you look at it from, let's say, from an Islamic perspective,
right,
not from a cultural perspective, but purely from a religious perspective, we shouldn't really shy away from these things. Because at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were companions who were very young, and these things were discussed in front of them. Whereas what happens now is that we actually enclose it. We don't discuss any of this stuff, but it's so widely available online, and the obscene material that's out there. If we don't actually educate children from a young age about right and wrong, what is out there, if we say to them, no, you got to stay away from it, it's bad and this, that, and that's it. We don't actually explain fully, what our faith says or what we should be doing, what's the right thing to do. Then I think it causes more issues.
Yeah, no, and certainly with recent events that have happened in the last couple of years, with what's been going on, not just in this country, but around the world. The UK at one point, I don't know if it still has, had the highest teenage birth rate. And I think, and also, everything else that goes with that. Yeah. And I think that you're absolutely right. I agree with you there. We do, on a personal level, I think year 6 sounds about right. I mean, certainly, I think I have no particular issue. I think I'm happy with secondary schools actually taking that on board. But if you have a faith school who's not engaging in that, as far as I'm concerned, they are also not engaging in the social fabric or certainly not in line with what's actually happening around them.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I say year 6 is that, let's say if you leave year 6 and you're going to a new school now, that stuff, if you don't already know the right thing, somebody else is going to teach the kids. It'll be year 7 students that will be saying stuff to the the new.
And the thing is, which is fine, that's normal. We should expect that to happen. But you do need education, really, to be the main force and driver of such a important a subject. No, I totally agree with you. It looks like we're going actually towards adverts.
This is quick.
This has flown by. I should do FNP more often.
It's better than Let's Talk.
It's not. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We're not going to go to a break where you're going to diss Let's Talk. It's not happening. Okay, brothers and sisters, thanks for listening. We're going to go to the break. We'll be back after this short advert. Please stay tuned in. Jazakallah khair.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Please give your brothers and sisters in the developing world the gift of clean, safe water. They can use it for drinking, for cooking, for watering their crops, and even for their livestock and animals. They'll also use the water that you provide them to make wudu. Log on to our website, pennyappeal.org, or call on 03000 11 11 11.
City Homes Estate Agents are your #1 independent family-owned agency in Peterborough. We offer a range of services including buying, selling, letting, mortgages and conveyancing. Why not call us today and find out for yourself why our customers return time and time again. We have a track record for achieving some of the highest prices in and around the area for our clients. With over 10 years of operating in the area, we are the experts in this market. Put us to the test today by calling 01733 348 677 and quote discount code RADIO for our exclusive rates for this promotion. City Homes, bringing people together for over 10 years.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self-Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. We have security systems in place which are monitored 24 hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self-Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood.
You have one new message.
Please, can you call me, please, for God's sake? I'm really in trouble. Please, Allah the Wasta, call me.
This was a real message. It was left not just for us, but for you. Thousands of our brothers and sisters in the UK are crying out for your help. Don't hang up on them. Find out more and fulfill your third pillar with us. Visit nzf.org.uk. National Zakat Foundation, serving zakat payers and recipients nationwide.
Salaam Radio is celebrating its 1-year anniversary. The entire community is invited to the Salaam Radio Summer Festival, Sunday the 20th of August at the Triangle Park on Occupation Road, Peterborough, from 11 to 7. Free entry and all are welcome. Funfair rides, bouncy castles, children's activities, food and clothing stalls, chocolate fountain, face painting, archery, penalty shootout and much more. Plus, Salaam Radio will be broadcasting live from the event with free gifts and giveaways. For more information or to book a stall, please contact 07722 55 884 or email info@salamradio.co.uk. Salaam Radio Summer Festival, Sunday the 20th of August at the Triangle Park on Occupation Road, just at the end of Gladstone Street, 11 to 7. We look forward to seeing you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من تمسك بسنتي عند فساد أمتي فله أجر 100 شهيد. That whoever holds tight my sunnah.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Let's Talk. You're listening to me, Akil Khalil, with my brother Faisal.
Assalamu alaikum.
We're live on 106.2 FM as well as Inspire FM in Luton. Please get involved in the conversation. I would love to hear from you on Friday Night Prime and see how Brother Amar's guests do it, as well as his listeners. Please call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. This part of the show, we're going to talk about something completely different to what we had in the first half of the show. Me and Brother Faisal, we're from a technology background, so this is something that interests both of us, and I hope it does to our listeners as well. So we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. So I'm just going to read out a quote to you right now, Brother Faisal, which is, everything we love about civilization is a product of intelligence. So amplifying our human intelligence with artificial intelligence has the potential of helping civilization flourish like never before, as long as we manage to keep the technology beneficial. And this was Max Tegmark, the president of Future of Life Institute, and he was referring there to AI. AI is essentially everything from Siri to self-driving cars, and it's progressing rapidly. While science fiction often portrays AI as robots with human-like characteristics, AI encompasses everything from our Google search to IBM's very famous Watson computer. It's absolutely everywhere, and I can't think of a situation anymore now where it's not involved. I'm going to give you another example. When, for example, the famous case, that poor baby that passed away recently, Charlie Gard, the hospital, and was informed actually by someone who actually works in the health industry. He said it's also true as well. Is that when they are assessing somebody whether or not they are willing, how much support they can give to them for life support, and what they believe, how long the person is going to be alive for, etc. The data is actually fed into some software, and the algorithms work out whether or not what the chances of this person's success rate from any sort of medicine would be. Similarly, if somebody's in court and the defendant's information is also put through a software, again, algorithms work out whether or not this person is going to re-offend again. So without knowing it, unbeknown to the masses, we are using software to make critical, life-changing decisions. So in one sense, we have an iPhone, and you can get other manufacturers available, and phones are available. You have Siri. You can ask it a question, and yourself working in technology, you ask the question. Most people think, well, I've just asked my phone a question, it's given me an answer. But what they don't realize is that their question has been sent to the cloud. It's then been decoded. The information is then searched across the web until it's found the answer which the search engine or the algorithm believes to be the most accurate, and it's then presented to the user.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the reason why majority of people don't find that amazing is because they've not worked with it back in, let's say, the 80s or 90s. To do a simple search back in those days, it could take hours and hours, to search for, let's say, 0.5 gigabytes of data.
Yeah, I mean,
in those days we had 200 megabyte hard drives. If you had a 0.5 gigabyte hard drive and you tried to search that, it could take hours and hours. Now you can search terabytes of data in seconds.
That's right, and that's why it's always impressive. When you do a Google search, and at the bottom of the search box, it will tell you how many milliseconds it's actually found the data in. It's phenomenal.
It is. I mean, the other big difference is back in those days, you had a single computer, let's say, at home. Let's say us as individuals, let's say we're software developers. I'm from a software development background, so I know this pretty well. So when you develop software on your own laptop, that's it. You just got access to your laptop. Whereas now you've got access to the cloud. You can switch on, let's say, £100,000 worth equivalent of servers, use them for an hour, pay, let's say, I don't know, $100 for it, and then switch it off when you're done. And with that amount of power, the amount of things you can do is just shocking.
Wow. I'm seeing a different side to you, brother. If anybody's watching this on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live, I've never seen Brother Faisal smile like a Cheshire cat. There's got to be something going on here.
I'll tell you the reason I say that is I actually tried this. I am a geek. I'm not a pro. I don't really program anymore, but I still dabble in it. And I tried this. I sent a picture of my son, and it was a picture of him, I think it was about a year ago. So it can analyze the picture. So I didn't write the algorithm. The algorithms are all written by mathematicians and proper geeks. The real
Don't
geeks.
sell yourself short.
The real geeks write the algorithms. We just use them. So it's just a matter of finding the right tools to do this stuff. So what this software does is it reads the picture and it tries to recognize what's in the photo. So it recognizes it's a 4-year-old boy. It didn't say 5, it didn't say 3, it said 4, and he was 4 at the time.
Wow.
And it's analysed the face, the shape of the face, where the eyes are in proportion and all those type of things. And it said a boy wearing a suit, and he's wearing a tie, and he's wearing a blazer.
That's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What do you think, brothers and sisters? Please get involved in the conversation. As you can see, we are streaming on our social media networks, but you can call the studio on 01733 602 133. I urge you to ask any sort of technical, geeky question to Brother Faisal.
I'm not sure
while
Friday
we are
night.
here.
I don't even know why you picked this topic on a Friday.
I think we've got him in the corner here tonight. Or you can text or WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. I think one of the things I think we need to talk about as well, I mean, it's happened quite recently as well, is there's been a Twitter spat by two of the most powerful men on the planet, certainly two of the most influential and richest men on the planet, and they happen to be in the technology sector. One was Elon Musk, the other one was Mark Zuckerberg, and the way it was put was, the difference of opinion there is Elon said it's not going to work.
I've got the quote.
Have you got it? Yeah, please share it.
Basically, Musk told a gathering of US governors this month that the potential dangers are not so imaginary and that they should move to regulate AI. He said, I keep sounding the alarm bell, but until people see robots going down the street killing people, they don't know how to react because it's so ethereal.
And then there was a response, wasn't it, from Mark Zuckerberg? Do you have that as well?
Well, no.
While you go searching for that, I will just add a little bit to what Mr. Musk has said there. So, you know,
I've got it here.
Please.
Yeah, basically, he says I'm pretty. I have a pretty strong opinion on this. I'm optimistic, and I think people who are naysayers and try to drum up these doomsday scenarios, I just don't understand it. It's really negative, and in some ways, I actually think it's pretty irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a vested interest at the end of the day because he's using AI all the time now. I mean, his social network, which has 2
Musk
billion
is as well.
Yeah,
I mean, with his Tesla cars. You know,
yeah, I agree with you. But I suppose Musk himself would not agree with it. He would look at someone like Mark Zuckerberg and say, look, you're getting 2 billion visitors a month to your site. There's so much interaction between the chatbots, the information that, what you're searching, what you're liking, it being able to then present, oh, well, this person likes this sport, or this person likes this, film. And it's all targeted advertising. It's all targeting data to keep you, keep you going through the same narrative, to want a better word. And then you got the other element. We discussed this on Let's Talk, and we talked about AI there, and especially we were talking about Cambridge Analytica and how they had an influence on certain elections across the world. I mean, I won't go into that now, but there is other elements to this. And just to go on what Mr. Musk said there about how AI could be dangerous, and there's a couple of questions here is, the AI can be programmed to do something devastating.
Yeah, but that's with anything. I mean, it's a tool, isn't it?
It is. So, for example, autonomous weapons could be used as artificial intelligence. I mean, in the wrong hands. I mean, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you've got something it can be autonomous, it can be automated, and
but that's similar to the missile defense systems.
The Iron system. Yeah. I agree with you, but the problem here is you couldn't, for example, if an enemy of a state, for example, managed to acquire this technology and weren't aware or didn't buy the manual, shall we say, and weren't aware of how to switch it off. You've got a weapon on your hands.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there is something that's beyond.
No, I'm not. Okay, give me an example. So you have unmanned aircraft.
Yeah.
Which it was a favorite weapon of the ex-president of the United States, President Obama. He was the only president in U.S. history who sanctioned so many of these vehicles to fly over countries and kill because they weren't accountable in the same way as if they had a pilot sitting inside an aeroplane.
Yeah.
And these drones are everywhere and they can be programmed. And myself working in the industry as well, you see the technology advances are phenomenal. I guess what I'm saying is, if this technology was in, and I'm only talking about military weapons here and drones, right?
The thing is, the technology is in the military already.
Yes.
So, I mean, technology advances in the military, then it gets civilian applications. So what we're seeing now in civilian applications it's already being used in military systems. But the thing is, if you look at even before AI or no AI, there'll be bad people out there that will be using, swords or whatever to kill people, to kill each other.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you see, the AI, it can be programmed to do something beneficial. Right? So if it develops like a destructive method for achieving its goal, right? So I'll give you an example, right? So if you ask an obedient, intelligent car to take you to an airport as fast as possible, it might get you there, chased by helicopters while you're covered in sick, but it's not doing anything you didn't ask it to do. You're asking it a specific question. Take me to the airport. That's it, okay? But you're not in any control of this vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, but then what it is with let's say, for example, if it's an autonomous vehicle, there could be regulations in place which would say something along the lines of that vehicle is not going to go over 80 miles or 70 miles an hour. That vehicle is not going to go through a red light. It's not going to do this. I believe that when those vehicles become available in the next few years, that you'll see less accidents.
It's true, and I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because Google was one of the companies whose vehicles did have some crashes. In fact, I'm not sure. I don't know whether it was their vehicle or someone else's vehicle was involved in a very serious accident as well. And so we're not far off the scenario that you just mentioned. We're certainly closer to a perfect vehicle autonomous situation.
Yeah.
To that end, Tesla, which is Musk's company, are testing lorries. Autonomous lorries on roads.
Yeah, I mean, you can see where it's going. I mean, you mentioned the thing about the legal situation in courts. Right? You can imagine a scenario where there's no judges and no lawyers. You know, what would be the use of a lawyer if you could put in a case, a scenario through an algorithm, and it can tell you by searching old cases and law books and whatnot. Within a few minutes, it can give you the results that a lawyer could probably spend days searching for.
Yeah.
You know, through old legal documents.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall on that.
The writing's on the wall. So lawyers, I mean, there'll be jobs going there.
Yes.
I mean, with autonomous vehicles, I mean, there'll be probably taxi drivers listening here. I mean, I could see a scenario where there's no taxi drivers.
What do you think, listeners? I know there's plenty of taxi drivers in the people community listening to the show. Get involved in the conversation. Do you think what Brother Faisal just said is controversial, which is you're going to be out of the job potentially in the next few years? You can call us in the studio on 01733 602 133.
I didn't
say that. You could potentially ask him whether or not he can write you some code to see whether or not you can change the way you guys currently operate. I want to pick up on something else here slightly, brother, which is that there's an article which I read. Stephen Hawking, the famous cosmologist, and he believes that there's no deep difference between what can be achieved by a biological brain and what can be achieved by a computer. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's we are there. So it goes in what you just said, in fact, actually, about lawyers, and such like. We are at the moment constantly feeding the machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's logical, isn't it? It's logical thinking. If this, then do this. If not, then do that. It's all the scenarios.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're setting up all the scenarios. But the key thing is that how can you then teach the machine to create its own scenarios? Do you understand what I mean?
I do, yeah.
I mean, there was something floating around about AI developing its own language. I don't know how true that is. I didn't really want to bring that up on the show.
No. Actually, I read about that as well myself. Yeah, which was talking to its own language. And, you know, there's going to be people who are going to be listening, brother, thinking these two guys, they must have just seen Tron and they've come back and they're talking about
this is real stuff.
Tell them how real this is, brother.
This is real. I mean, I was using Python. It's a programming language yesterday. I just thought, okay.
So you're involved with this, are you?
Huh? No, I just do it as a hobby. To be honest, it's some of it's related to my work as well. I work in digital imaging.
Okay.
So recognizing image files. So currently, for example, in a lot of our clients, I'm not going to mention what we do, is that they actually tag images manually. So if they see a picture of so-and-so, they'll say, this is a picture of Akil. He's in the studio. He's wearing this or that. He's wearing glasses.
A onesie.
Yeah. So when someone searches for a onesie, your picture will come up. But wouldn't it be great if half of that tagging was already done for the user so they don't have to think? They might not necessarily pick up on everything. But if the image can be recognized and it picks up all these things, the metadata is attached, and it's already tagged.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. What I'll say to you, obviously, with what I do for a living as well, is some of the technology that's moved on in surveillance is algorithms are actually working out the difference between a human, an animal, a vehicle, a person without a vehicle. And you mentioned about facial recognition just there. I mean, you can run a single face through a humongous database and create a picture. I mean, we live in a society now across the United Kingdom. I mean, we talk about police resources in this country being, dwindling down. When you speak to any police officer, they will say to you, we don't have enough resources. But I'll tell you where resources have certainly gone to, and that is in the enforcement of ANPR cameras. Okay, now ANPR cameras is a network.
Yeah.
Again, using data, learning data, running through data. I mean, I won't go through it too much right now, but I mean, it's a very similar concept, which we are using this for law enforcement. We're using this in like I mentioned, in health. We're using this for fun. Like you mentioned about sending your son's picture. We're using it online in our social media. We're using it when we're shopping.
I mean, even you've got these thermostats at home now. Those learning ones.
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called. Nest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's others out there as well, but that's like a Harvest. So I mean, this thing.
Hive. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Hive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is actually. Yeah. So basically, it learns. So it recognizes. Okay, Akil has set the temperature to this, and previous temperature was that. So eventually, what will happen is that the system will recognize itself that this is the temperature you like. So I mean that's one scenario. But just imagine if you were wearing clothing which had sensors on it. I mean that's coming soon as well. Akil, is wearable technology.
Okay, yeah, I mean, wearable technology. Yeah. I personally have an Apple Watch, so that's already there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking beyond the Apple Watch. So let's say, for example, you're wearing a shirt. Yeah. Just say what you're currently wearing.
But I mean, there are smart jackets available, aren't there already?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I mean, they're not as, you can't say they're clothing like what we're wearing now. They are a bit more. You can't wear them on a regular. It's not like a fashion accessory. You couldn't walk into a regular shop and buy those jackets.
Correct, yeah. They're not in the mainstream.
They're not in the mainstream. I mean, I've seen some of these vests. They're available for like £400, $400. And basically they monitor your heart rate. They monitor your body temperature, your blood pressure.
Yeah.
Constantly is monitoring this. Yeah. Just imagine if you're in your house and your home heating system recognizes, oh, you're too hot. And it automatically regulates the temperature, brings the temperature down.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
I mean, that's coming. That'll be within the next couple of years, I'd say. Then also, let's say, for example, you're driving a car. You're wearing your wearable technology. The car recognizes you're feeling tired, or it's too hot in here, and you've started relaxing. You know, your heartbeat is changing, and the car could wake you up, or it could say, pull over. It's not safe to drive anymore.
Or I'll drive for you.
Let's say if somebody suffers a heart attack, or they're about to suffer a heart attack. The clothing's automatically connected to your phone. It rings 999, dials it for you.
Yeah, but the next step would be if the car has a defibrillator inside it as well. And I'm thinking like another like version 5 ahead.
Yeah.
But then it tries to recover. It essentially tries to save you while the emergency service is trying to get you.
Yeah.
I mean
or it drives you to the nearest hospital,
which is doing that at the same time.
Yeah,
so it's trying to save you and get you to the nearest hospital as well.
Yeah.
I mean I suppose the possibilities are really endless. But just to pause just there, brother, we have a comment on Facebook. Wow. See, I'm not used to this, am I?
No, you're not.
I think you know what's happening here. So the comment here is from a listener, Ivan Humble, and he states, which is quite funny actually. He said we were mentioning the taxis earlier, weren't we? So he said cheaper fares would be a start.
There would be.
There would be absolutely, but the problem there is it'd be so cheap that other people would be out of work. So there'll be, you'd have to.
I mean, there'll be a scenario. I can see this as well. That people won't own cars. You just rent the car for that journey.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes recently, I don't know if you've seen their Concept 2040 vehicle, I think it is.
Yeah.
SP15 or something.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you are essentially in a cabin.
Yeah.
And you've got all the technology and things like that in the world. You do not need to be worried about what's happening. You just put the destination you're going to get there. It's phenomenal. But I know we keep talking about vehicles here, but I mean, aeroplanes, I read an article recently about how people are fearful at the moment of pilotless planes. Mm-hmm. Planes essentially fly themselves now.
They are. I mean, that's happening already.
That's what I mean. It's happening already.
Yeah.
There's thousands of flights that go out of the UK every single day, and most of them fly themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fascinating time to be around. Part of me, wished I was born 10 years ago. So I can see what's going to happen in the next 20, 30 years or something like that. But then I also have seen where all this is all started. So I would have liked to have seen that.
No, I'm telling you, I think the era that we were born in was the best era because what we saw.
But I mean, obviously you were at least 20 before me.
20 before you. What are you on about?
Brother Amir told me everything.
No, I mean, let's say, for example, early 90s, the internet was just becoming mainstream. You had dial-up access. So we grew up with this stuff.
Oh, my God, dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remember the sounds of those? That modem sounds so good right now.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah. That's 10 hour. Can you remember the Commodore C64?
Yeah.
And the Spectrum?
I remember.
Putting the cassettes in.
I remember.
And then it moved forward. And then,
yeah.
It just makes you think back, like you mentioned earlier on, it just makes you think about how technology's moved on so
you had CDs not so long ago. I mean, how many people use CDs now? I mean, we've got this technology now where, data's on chips.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see a time where, I did research on this while I was at uni, and you had, they were talking about biotechnology. Right. So rather than storing data on chips, you're storing data on biomedical. So, for example, it's chemical based.
Right.
right? So it's not using electrical current over copper wire; it's using it over over chemicals, and it's just going to speed up everything. What we see now today, in 20, 30 years time, you know, it'll be totally different ball game.
Would you? So the question here, then, brother, is: should we, as a human race, just accept the fact that these things are here to stay, and we need to adapt our lives accordingly to make better use of what's available to us already, because it's going to make our lives more efficient?
That's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, look at how we rely on our mobile phones now. We store all our appointments in there. I mean, I always think that wouldn't it be great if there was if there was a way, and this is coming, it's already available, but it's just not mainstream yet. Is that
you haven't written the code?
No, I haven't written the code. No, there people have written this.
Yeah.
It's just in beta, where you install the software on your phone. It knows what meetings that are coming up for you. It will automatically notify you of them. I mean, this happens with the calendar.
This already happens, yeah.
Yeah, but let's say, for example, it goes one step further. It knows that you're a salesperson, right? It knows that you're looking for these type of leads. It finds those leads for you. It books the appointments for you. It has that conversation with the person. So you know how you have this, you know, emails backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
You just set the system to do that for you. I mean, I use.
You need to write that, because I'm telling you, you'd make a lot of money from a lot of companies if you wrote that.
No, there are companies out there. I'll mention this off air to you. I mean, you can set up automated emailing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it'll have that conversation. So rather than you sending 5 emails over the next 3 weeks, you can set the system up. It will then reply to the person, you know, based on what content's in the email.
Well, I for one, and I don't know about our listeners, I for one am really excited about what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
I'm loving what's happening so far. I'm looking forward to the driverless car.
Yeah.
And seeing.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Really?
Yeah.
Driverless cars?
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? This show's done. This hour's just flown by.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to step in Armour's shoes. Thanks for letting me join you tonight, Brother Faisal.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
What I want to do now is we have a community event which I have to speak about. So, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to be here. I believe Salaam Radio team is going to be there. So this is the Summer Festival where we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary, which takes place on Sunday the 20th of August, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is at Millfield Recreation Park, Papa Echo 1 2 Alpha Uniform, which is opposite Occupation Road. We're going to have fun fair rides, bouncy castles, children's activities, food and clothes stalls, chocolate foundation, face painting, archery, and so much more. I'm told so.
We'll be broadcasting live from there as well.
And there you go. We're going to be broadcasting live, so you can meet the team. You can even come on air and say hi.
Yeah.
It's free entry to everybody, so you're all welcome. For more information, you can find out this from Facebook, which is Salaam. You can find us on Salaam Radio. We're on Twitter, Salaam Radio 1062. I have to just check with another point there. And obviously, we'll be giving out more information across the air. So we're really looking forward to seeing everybody there. It's going to be a great family affair.
It's next Sunday, 20th.
And it's next Sunday, the 20th. Got 30 seconds to go, brother. I just want to say it's been great. I think Brother Ahmad needs to retire.
Yeah.
I think me and you, we're better than, you know.
This will turn into a geek show, though, won't it? That's the problem.
It won't turn into a geek. All right, you know what? We should let him come back on.
Yeah.
But I think for the future, you know what he's going to say, don't you? You say I'm trying to take over his show, but we should let him sit just there, and he can just, you know, he can say a few words.
He's probably listening to this and laughing.
I hope he is. Anyway, Jazakallah khair for listening. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I look forward to seeing everybody next weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.